Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am your host, avid Sherlockian Zachary here, and of course, when I dive into my bag of regulars, I am never disappointed. With me, of course, is Jesse Jackson. No, not that one.
Hello, Zach. Good to talk to you again. Are you ready to talk sleuthing? Are you ready to the secret? And we get, in this episode, the return of one of my favorite supporting characters.
Oh, well, Virginia Madsen's always good. So, yes, of course, and we're talking episode, Render and then Sees Her. So we start off with, again, Gregson and one of our Paige, and again, and of course, I respect Virginia Madsen because she's one of those actors that was on shooting right up in a Star Wars, but she took time off to raise her family.
Yeah, and she is wonderful in Designated Survivor.
Ah, yes. We should think about doing a podcast for that one.
We really should, even though neither one of us have
really
enough time.
Don't.
But yes. But yeah, she's just been really interesting in that show. If you aren't watching it, it is truly a great take on, Washington politics and also kind of a survival. And it's been very interesting, and she's very complicated.
I have no idea
role.
what her motivations are in the character. So it's yeah. Well, and I'm gonna before we move on, I'm gonna mention that show in one of my Interim Insanity's webisodes because it's funny the comment on the fact that one of the most popular shows on the new season is a show where pretty much the whole government just gets blown up.
Yes, exactly. But we've seen her. There is a podcast on a different network that talks about shipping, the Shipping Room podcast. Yes. And I will tell you, I ship the Captain and Paige. I have been cheering for this. I think it's been an interesting.
Really kind of shipping when they're already together.
Well, but shipping can also just mean you're pulling for a couple. And so I really like her. And this was I'll tell you right now, that for this episode is that subplot is what made the episode for me.
Interesting. Yes. Well, she's doing very well in this. Her and Aiden Quinn have great chemistry together. I don't think they've ever worked together, but I'd have to double check to make sure. So we get an interesting scene where a naked man is spying on a woman.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, really typical kind of elementary, start.
It's funny. It's not the only show in recent history that had a murder at a nude resort. The episode of The Glades did that, and I skipped ahead again. I forgot to mention that Paige finally meets Sherlock, and I like how even I was like, why is he looking at her like that? But it turns out he's doing it. Although why he's doing it at the station, I do not know. But he's doing some kind of experiment copying expression to see if it has an effect on mood.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm curious to see their interactions together because you can tell like a lot of people, she thinks he hates her guts when he first meets her, but he's being Sherlock. So she hires him for a job that we find out later about. So yeah, we have and unless I'm wrong, does that, it could be just the actor, did that naked man have the Texas flag on his chest?
I did not catch that. I may have to go back and rewatch the episode.
Wow, where were your eyes then? Well then, let's move on before Jesse gets
Yes, exactly.
So, he says this thing, it's not what it looks like, it's shot. Moving back to the brownstone, we find out that what Paige hired. Oh yeah, can we just say this again? I've mentioned Watson's outfit. Watson's in PJs. Okay.
Yes.
I kept trying to see if it was, again, I always look to see if there's relevance, but I could not tell what was on the PJs.
I couldn't either. I did think that was a very interesting, she, especially now that you've mentioned, you always like to see how she's dressed. This was an interesting outfit. Every so often, there's something that, I catch it. And I am gonna see if I can contact the, costume designer, because it'd be funny if we get them on the show and they're like, no, we just pick stuff at random. It's like, Yeah.
Dang it!
Yeah, no. And I don't believe they are. I
No,
don't believe
no.
they are at all.
So we find out that the reason Paige hired Sherlock is she believes there's some kind of fraud going on at her doctor's office, so they're going to look into that. And the reason she didn't tell, Captain Gregson is obviously it's anything involving her. The guy would be the White Knight, so she wants to make sure it's true before they investigate any further. So, Sherlock gets a phone call and he says the weirdest line you could ever say out of context. Put your clothes on, no wait, take them off if you prefer.
Yeah.
And we find out, by the way, we also find out that when Sherlock stole the files, he was planning to wear a hockey mask. Always good. Which really could have racked up the old felony charges. But anyway, so we find out there's an actual reason for the man that he was new in the beginning, as we said, because the murder took place at a nudist campground. There's actually one not too, well, it's in Vermont, but it's like, from what I understand, it's like unofficial. Like, it's not a nudist retreat, because I think you need a specific permit, but apparently, it's like, if you show up there and walk around naked, no one will say anything.
Wow, okay.
So, and if those people were paying me, I would say where it was. So anyway.
Okay, yes.
Okay, now there's one thing I want to make a note of. Did you notice that though? I mean, I think I would notice this if I saw a woman that I believed was a kidnapped person. She doesn't look nervous at all.
No, not at all.
She's just looking around going, yep, I'm listening to whatever that artist's name is. I don't even know what the name of that song is. Do you know?
No, I did not. I did not catch it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure one of our listeners will say,
yeah, I'm sure.
Guys.
Hey, he is one of the greatest artists of all time.
Right.
So, it turns out that the man's just sent a text, that's what he's doing when he's sending a phone. It turns out it's a kidnapped woman, so obviously the killer must be her kidnapper, and so they're trying to figure, sadly there's not much evidence left, so they're gonna look into the kidnapping. And I want to make mention, the woman paying Beth is actually, she's got an interesting name, Kim Director, and I thought it looked familiar. She was actually one of the robbers in the movie Inside Man.
Oh, okay. I love that movie.
Yes, and something I'm sure she would prefer I not mention, she was also one of the people in Blair Witch 2.
Okay, yes.
Not the one that just came out, which I've still heard bad things. No, the even worse one that came out a few years ago. But anyway, she was pretty good in that, so it's nice to see her again. So, they go into the case and they talk to the husband, and it turns out she was taken, and now, there's one thing I wasn't sure about. The guy that's there, that was a cop, right, helping them out?
I believe so.
Yeah, because I was, for like half a second, I wasn't sure if he was like a cop or a security guy. So, but anyways, they look at the footage, and Joan notices something interesting about the van that takes her. It must be a converted news van, which really shows her observant skills.
Mm-hmm.
So back at the brownstone, Sherlock is looking through the medical files, and the evidence points to the doctor didn't know anything, and it looks like it's some kind of double prescription scan. And and one thing I really like is how Joan knows Sherlock's looks. He's like, I'm bored. No, that's a different look.
That is pretty funny. Yes.
And so Sherlock is actually worried, and we get this a little more later on. Is obviously Sherlock views the captain as a colleague, but he is like the protective of and I realized it during the rewatch what I was noticing about it, but it's something I can't mention until later in the podcast. But he realizes that Paige must be broke, so that concerns which pops up later. So from there, we find out that Belle actually found the van, and I love how Belle goes, no, that was so you did it through this way. No, that was a dead end. Oh, so you must have found it this way. No, that was a dead end. So how did you do it? Oh, it was an easy path.
Yeah.
It was just the way I love the way they blocked that.
Yeah, I did too.
Now, sadly, there's absolutely it's not really looking good finding out where it was, but they realize it's because of the stay of the van and evidence of people kind of living in it, which is, I'm sure, a 5-star accommodation.
Yeah, really.
It's the van has been there a while. And this is something I wasn't sure to mention enough, but I like how Sherlock notices there's evidence of a junkie. I don't know if that means exactly what's in there, but there's not even a flicker of like in the first season they would have said, "Are you in danger of relapsing, being near drugs?"
Yeah, not this time. I agree.
Yeah, and I again, they handle addition very cool, very accurately in this.
Yes.
So they find a phone, and I think this is a hint and almost a clue that whoever did it wasn't, even though they were smart to burn the van, they left even though it was a burner phone, they still left the phone with a SIM card in it. Not the work of a professional.
Yeah, no.
So they find out that the person who burned her phone called was actually a husband.
I'm sorry, Zach.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you wonder, have these people never watched a TV show? You would think, even if you've just kind of just glanced by a TV, you'd know, oh, here's the doing. Because I've heard stories of people that, it is because of so much, all these crime shows, reality shows, that people know what the police look for and detectives. So I think that was well done, but it was just kind of a convenient thing, right?
A little bit, okay. But again, I think it's a hint that whoever did it wasn't professional.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because CSI actually used to do these commercials for advertise the show, and it was the victims as they're being killed criticize the murderer's technique.
Oh, how funny!
Yeah, and there was even a scene where the guy buries him and goes, "A human-shaped mound of dirt," and then he spits on the grave, and as he's walking away, the guy in the dirt goes, "They can test for that."
That's funny.
But it's true. But again, we don't know exactly how much is real and how much do they really have.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's I think it was most an intentional hint that the guy wasn't a professional. So it turns out the husband, they were looking for a serial killer, but apparently all along was a ransom man. The bell is really cheesed off about it, and we could have been looking for your wife this whole time. And the guy is just flat out refusing to give information. Yeah. So Sherlock goes back to the place, tries to get some information from Larry King over here. And
yes.
Well, it's his posture. It just made me think of it. And so he's trying to get information, and he's the guy's saying he doesn't believe, if he's doing what he can. And I love that weird empty, I'm gonna tell him you're sneaking around here. It's and then again, that's something I want to mention later. It really doesn't make any sense, but Sherlock is trying to he really gets nothing from him. But Watson finds a witness that says he saw that the husband was getting worked up about something, so that could be something important. And he also offers Sherlock voiceover work, which again I really think they should have Johnny Lee Miller do just for the heck of it.
Yes, I agree.
And here, I love how Watson doesn't even blink an eye. In fact, she tells him when to do it, essentially, to break in and steal the hard drive.
Yeah, she has corrupt is the wrong word, but she understands kind of the bigger picture sometimes now, right?
Yes, indeed. Although, I gotta say, so no one noticed a hard drive missing?
Good point.
I was like, but yeah. So they start looking through the footage, and I love how Sherlock says it's about his technique and wants it's you could have told me that 10 minutes ago. And they actually find something. Now, obviously it's footage of, here's the, I guess the quality could be explained away by that's them looking, but I didn't think for a second that footage looked 30 years old.
No, I agree with you.
Even with digital retouching.
Yeah. But, that's one of the TV science, right? When they go, let's blow up this picture, and it's clear as a bell when you see that, right?
Oh, yeah. Or what I find funny is video conference calls in TV shows, how they're always unless the show calls for it to break up, it's always perfect quality. I mean, I can barely get stuff to work when I'm calling people across town, and these people are making international video calls. Give me a break.
And that's absolutely right, because as you and I know, so far, knock on wood, we haven't had problems, but it never fails how often, I have, I'm in a discussion, Skype fails, and then I've got to go, I'm sorry, and calling back, right?
Oh, yeah. So, and another thing about the footage, I didn't think for a second the stabbing looked real. I mean, obviously, I don't know what a stabbing really looks like. Or even one that I have no idea, but it looked to me like he was just punching him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe, I don't know, but it's just something I was thinking. But Watson actually recognized the people in the video, and once again, using her mafia knowledge,
Yes.
managed to figure it out, traces it to a case. So, now before that, before they head down there, Sherlock talks to Paige, tells her the whole story and what they were able to find out, and he confronts her about the money. Like, he's worried. Like, he wants to make sure she's not just trying to get help or take advantage of Gregson. And I always find it interesting when someone calls Gregson Tommy.
Yes.
Because, like, we either get him Captain, we either get Gregson. Even Watson, I don't think, has ever called her Tommy.
No, he's always Captain, and does even Sherlock call him? Because they're friends. Does he call him? Does he always call him Captain?
Sherlock would never call him Tommy.
Right.
I mean, has he actually? Now that I'm thinking, has he ever called Watson Joan?
I'm thinking. I don't know.
I don't think he has.
Now, okay, as if I didn't have enough reasons to rewatch.
Listen, I rewatched before this season.
Yes,
I'm not
absolutely.
for a little bit. And also, the weird fact, this could be because I'm pretty sure I read this once that in the Chinese culture the last name is like your because like the first name is the family name actually.
So when you edit, you can take this out if you find it boring. But my son, when he was a freshman in college, had a Chinese roommate. They were actually twin brothers, and they did not room together because they wanted to practice their English. And they went by Frank and Henry. They had American names they used. And Frank was Chris's roommate. And my wife, it goes by LJ, and even Chris calls his mom LJ, just, because he would be CJ and LJ. And they would always call Linda LJ, and they would call me Mr. Chris. And I'm like, I don't understand why they call me Mr. Chris. It's, I'm Jesse Jackson, and I told him you can call me Jesse, and they always call you Mr. Chris, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was telling the story at work, and I had a employee that was from China. He goes, "Oh, I get it. Chris Jackson. I think Chris is the family name. That's why they call you Mr. Chris." Yeah. So you're absolutely right, and that is the reason why.
Yeah, it could. I wonder. It could, and because I would totally see Sherlock doing it. So they go to confront D'Ignacio, and this guy's just the way he's talking. He's like, "Wait, I don't know nothing about the thing," and the other, but wait, that thing, and he tells him that's not me in the video. I love Gregson goes, "Are you trying to cop an insanity plea?"
Yes, that was awesome.
But it turns out that the company actually they were about to develop this amazing CGI tech, which I know I'm like, can I call bull on this one? Because I know you can do amazing things with a computer, but there is no way. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can use an app. It's like, yeah, you can use an app if you have motion capture technology.
Yes.
It's like I showed it my uncles. I thought they would get a kick out of this fake footage of me murdering a guy.
Yeah, and it's kind of right this magic, technology. There's an app for that, and so that's a convenient way to go with that.
So, and I love Greg because I showed it around the family. I like how he called it our thing. It's like, really? I want to go, really? That's what we're going with? And so their suspect list grows. Now, in the next scene, we get a Sherlock wake-up call, and it's the violin, which he burned a couple of seasons ago.
But I'm guessing he got a new one. I love the way that, you're gonna get at least a couple of times on a season of him showing up in Joan's bedroom. And, she's just given up. She just has this, have you been there all night? And he's like, yes, I have, or trying to wake him up. And so I always love that about it. It just is interesting.
Yes, indeed. So, and as always, the wake-up call every so often is relevant to the case because it turns out it's from the same artist from music earlier, and he finds that the monster. He starts clearing away Watson's evidence, but turns out it's the monster angle is incorrect because he found another motive that, let me make sure I get this guy's name right. It's Carrig, that he developed the software, but because it's one of those proprietary things, because he developed in the company computer, he actually has no say, like he gets just his standard salary, you know what I mean? So that is another motive for him to steal something that would, even Watson doesn't already belong to it. So he has one. Now I like this part when they're showing Belle the footage, and she's like, look again, and without even being prompted, Belle goes, oh, it's Carrig.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
So they figure out with his tech, like the equipment he has, he could easily manipulate the footage. But what's fascinating is, again, why I call Larry King, he's got that weird hunched posture that he changed his height, but he didn't change his posture. So they're gonna confront him. So from here, Sherlock goes to talk to Gregson.
Yes.
And he looks nervous as hell.
He absolutely does.
And I didn't realize why until I did the rewatch. And there's a little more of this later, but I think I can mention this now. Sherlock is acting like he's talking to his dad.
Yeah, that's a good point. I had not thought about that, but I agree with you. Absolutely.
And not only a dad, but a dad he respects and cares about what he thinks about him.
Yes.
And I just found that really fast. And then he tells him about what he about, and of course Gregson being a very private person does not like that Sherlock knows about Page's financial problems.
Yeah.
And
so I really liked that he wanted, Sherlock can be very difficult, but you could tell this is truly he's trying to be compassionate. He's trying to do things for his friend and, has no concept. You are way overstepping, dude. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he kind of does, again, another aspect of his nervousness. Yeah. But yeah, and he tells him you should get married so she can use your health plan. And I love how Gregson, obviously we've talked about, but she doesn't want to get married, but I do.
Yeah, and I thought that was, and I love Aidan Quinn in this, and this whole, look, it's none of your business, but by the way, I did want to do this, and and so that's awesome.
Now, they're confronting Carrig about the tape, and I love, because we found out, again, this is a hint what an idiot this guy is. The gun he used and the gun he shot the guy, because, spoiler, he's the murderer, it was the gun he shot the guy with, is the gun that's registered to him. Are you freaking kidding? And see, here's what's interesting. If Beth had escaped, they probably would have asked him, where's the gun? And he would have had to say, oh, it got stolen, or the old excuse or something like that. So she escaped her captors, and I was with Holmes. The second she said her story, oh yeah, these Pakistani guys kidnapping him, really?
Yeah. And
it's like, wow. Now she's got some evidence of being beat up. Now I like how Sherlock doesn't believe they had to let Carrig go because of this, and Sherlock doesn't believe the story for a second.
Yes.
And of course he gets what's funny? I wonder if those two pictures really are members of the Karachi Dragons.
I don't know.
But so they're trying to figure out why and he guesses that that a prenup would be because if it's coming up, they need to stretch it out so she can get money, a share of the profits of the software.
Yes.
And then Holmes lets it drop so casually that he suggested marriage to the captain. I love Watson's like, wait, say what? And apparently they're about to play cricket in the living room.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
I love how keen Sherlock is in doing it. Watson's going to do it anyways, but then, of course, Sherlock is so keen on playing cricket.
Mm-hmm.
And then he realizes, as he often does, he gets an epiphany about Bess. I love when he goes, her breasts. What was paid? No. And I feel the need to mention, because obviously she's a very beautiful, the woman director is, a very beautiful woman. She's obviously got the curves. The funny thing is, if you remember in Inside Man, the size of her breasts were a plot point there too.
Mm-hmm.
Because you remember
Yes.
that? It's just a weird thing. But anyway, it turns out that she has a tan, and there's no reason for her to have one, which leads them to support the theory. And they go back to they said they checked the scene. There's absolutely no evidence. But see, now technically they really can't prove anything. But then they could just go to Carrick and probably offer him the deal with the evidence, and a guy like that would take it. But because she didn't actually kill the guy, they offer her the deal first. And I just love the husband during this scene.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be a little bad for him. Oh, something really important I want to mention. When Sherlock says being in a relationship, something, I forget exactly what he worded it, but it's like, oh yeah, studies show that being in a certain kind of relationship, being alone makes you live longer. And Watson says, then you'll be alone and alive forever. I'm like, but doesn't he have a girlfriend?
Yes, he does. And I am very unhappy we have not seen her yet.
I mean, but again, that line, I really hope they wouldn't do something like break them up in between. I don't think the writers would do that, but I would so hate it if they did. So hopefully it was just, she meant as marriage, not just relationship. But so, now, they confront her about it, and she confesses, makes a deal. Now, again, the legal system, I'm no expert, but unless I'm wrong, I think she could get off without much trouble. Like, she was trying to run out the clock with the prenup, although really I think she could have done that herself. Because technically, she didn't file a false police report. Her husband reported her missing.
Yeah.
She didn't ask, and she could just plea. I think she could actually plea out, especially if she makes a deal with the DA. It's like, I'll give evidence against him, because he killed him. Because they want the murderer. They don't want just someone. She could even use that to stretch out the divorce, even if she wanted. So she could have kept this all coming out okay.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
It. Now, from there, we see Paige there, and I love how Greg's like, did I forget a lunch? And Holmes is just telling her, essentially says to him, oh, by the way, I convinced her to marry you. And he's just like, what?
That was really cool, wasn't it?
I don't know what to think about. I really don't.
Yeah, I love the fact that, she's kind of, Sherlock is so concerned about his friend and him being happy. And to go through that is just very slick.
Yes, and so he tells him it's not just about like the medical stuff. He can tell Sherlock wants him to be happy, and he actually suggests to him, "You're going to go away for the weekend." I had to keep rewatching the scene because I didn't really. It's like I couldn't process what was going on, and it took me a minute to realize that Sherlock convinced Paige to say yes to the captain. I thought he was saying that you're going away this weekend, you should propose then. No, Sherlock already convinced her to say yes to the captain.
Yes, and she's. I would have liked to heard that conversation because I'm sure it's. Look, I know you're independent. I know you're trying to do this, but he loves you and he cares about you, and this is a smart thing to do.
Yeah. And Sherlock even has some rings ready, which is great. So I'm not sure who's doing the cover of the song, but they do the song from earlier, and obviously she says yes. And it's gonna be fascinating to see where they go in this. Just him helping him.
Yes.
It's just wonderful. So, I have a couple. Let's see, my favorite lines is one from that scene, actually. If you're concerned about the provenance, you should just focus on these ones.
Yes.
And the second line I like is from one of the newest, is Belle saying, the woman from the newest camp, here, I think you'll be more comfortable. And she says that she's putting on the robe, I think you'll be more comfortable.
Yes, that was very good.
Yeah. And that's it for me for that.
I just love the discussion and kind of the romance of this, that, slowly the Grinch's heart is being, warmed up. And so I just like that about this. I was happy to do this and see what they're going to say. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm very happy that we saw Virginia Madison again, and looking forward to, see what happens going forward, as you said.
Yeah. So for me, the final thought in this episode, it's good. I mean, it's especially. I mean, I like the one right before it so much. But it's a good one. The case had its good twists and turns, and it has decent rewatch value. Not as high as some other ones, but it's decent enough because it's one of those ones where it's fun to watch it knowing who the bad guys are. So for that, it gets decent rewatch value. But for overall, it was good. The side stuff with the captain was entertaining. The case was good, and it had good supporting actors. So overall, I'd give this one. It's not going to be one of my favorite episodes this season, but it definitely was a good one.
Yeah, so I could separate this if they did not have the subplot with the captain and Paige, I would give this maybe, a C, or, just another episode. But because of that, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 selections of engagement rings.
Some of which are stolen.
Yes, or maybe. We don't know. I love the idea that I'm going to give you here, Captain. Pick one you like.
Wait, no, there's so many ones we could do it for this. 7 sets of Karachi dragons.
Yes.
7 tanned breasts.
Yes. And
7 fake mafia stabbings.
Or 7 violin wake-up calls. Yes.
Okay, so
Zach, this was a fun. Tell us how we can find you.
Oh, you can always find me on social media, Facebook, and the Southgate Media, but of course, Twitter is a decent place to find me as well, Infamous Sandy. How about you, Sir Jesse?
I am at Jesse Jackson DFW is my Twitter handle. I am on Facebook as well. You can get me as someone tries to call me, with my doctor's theme.
Jesse, I think you're gonna have to hurry up. They're starting to play you off.
Yes, indeed. You can also find me on Southgate Media talking Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere, and talking Bruce Springsteen fandom on Set Lusting Bruce.
Alright, that's this for this week, and it's time for us to part, for the game is afoot.